All right. Let's talk about Miami because couple different things going on with Miami. One, you have Carson Beck, who's the new quarterback, but also Carson Beck coming off an elbow surgery. We saw him get hurt in the SEC championship game playing for Georgia. He's limited, but it sounds like he may be able to throw in the back half of spring practice. So it'd be nice to see him throwing again. The other piece of this, Miami's overhauled its defense, which really was what killed it last year because Miami's offense was incredible with Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo, but defensively, it's not like they have bad players. They have some individually very good players on this defense, but can they put it all together? Is it like, LSU switching to Blake Baker last year? Perhaps their new coach, Corey Heatherman, coming from Minnesota, is going to do the same thing where you have automatic improvement, instant improvement. All of a sudden, if the offense is pretty good, you've got another playoff contender.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very pivotal year for Miami, too. Tough schedule, again. But like when you come into the season looking at where they are and where they were last year, I think that Miami fans probably finished the year disappointed because the potential, offensively at least, was for a deep playoff run. And their defense just was not good, period. Like, it just wasn't good. So I think that you kind of have the same question about Miami that you did about USC coming into this past year of like, can you just make it okay? Can you just make it serviceable enough to get stops? Because Miami's offense, I'm going to put my flag in the ground right now. They are not scoring at will the way they did last year. They're just not going to. They lost way too much, and I think that Carson Beck, although a nice, salvage of what could have been a disaster of a quarterback room, considering what happened, late in the portal and all that stuff, finding him, I think, was a good thing. But I think that this notion that it's going to be as good or better than last year is insane. So, they need, the defense is everything this offseason. They need to get stops somehow. And they've got dudes like Ruben Bain. He could be an All-American next year. It's not like they don't have personnel. They overhauled their secondary in the portal. They brought guys in. I feel like Miami's defense will and should be much better. Does that mean it's going to be great? But no, I think, but if it plays the way that USC played this past year and is really improved, I think that they have a chance to get to 9 wins again.
I think so too. I think a good defense for Miami. Now it sucks with that schedule that you start off with Notre Dame, you get Florida shortly after that, but at least both those games are at home. If you can split those two, you have a really good chance of ripping through your ACC schedule. They do have Louisville and SMU that they've got to play, but they get Louisville at home, and then they got to go to SMU. Those are the scariest games. We'll see about Florida State. Now, maybe Florida State is better this year. Miami's got to go up there. But Miami should be as good or better than Florida State. So with Carson Beck, we talk about everything Cam Ward did. In honor of our friends at Huel and fueling your morning with Huel, this is the Huel Black Edition, by the way. 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. Complete nutrition in this bottle. We fuel your morning with the things you need to know. And of course, one thing you need to know is you use the code Staples15 at Huel.com. That's HUEL.com. Code Staples15 for 15% off your first purchase of $75 or more and a free gift. But the other thing that Miami had last year was some excellent old receivers. We had Xavier Restrepo on the show at the Senior Bowl. That guy was incredible. Xavier Restrepo and Jacoby George combined for 122 catches for almost 1,900 yards. Sorry. It's like 1880 something. That's obscene.
I've been doing the mock draft thing lately. Not making them, but reading them.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of Xavier Restrepo to the Chiefs. If you want to have,
that's not even
what's going to happen next year.
It's not even fair.
She Rice back Xavier Worthy and Restrepo. That would be that'd be something. Can you imagine Restrepo and his ability to run routes and catch everything with Mahomes?
Oh, That's why I said not fair, because like Worthy is a speedster, like traits guy. Restrepo is just a straight up incredible receiver, perfect route runner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's going, and he's not going to, like in the NFL, probably isn't going to wow you with speed where he's going to just run away from everybody, but he's fast enough and he's a perfect route runner.
Knows how to get open. And I feel like that, like, it's like you can test his 40 or whatever. And I know that didn't he say at the Senior Bowl that he's working on his time, trying to get his fast time and stuff. But like, I do feel like there's a huge difference too between like 40 time and game speed, and like his natural feel for the pockets in the secondary kind of reminds me a lot of like what Travis Kelce does, right? Travis Kelce just finds ways to get open, even in broken down plays. And I think Restrepo would be the perfect complement to Patrick Mahomes' playing style. This is an NFL podcast, but oh my God. I think Restrepo was one of the more underappreciated players in the entire sport last year.
Yeah, and I think that's the big question for Miami. Not like Carson Beck, we know is fine. Who is that person? Is it one of the younger guys? Is it somebody who was waiting behind Jacoby George and Xavier Restrepo? Is it a freshman coming in this year? Like who are the guys that become Carson Beck's primary targets? And look, Carson Beck, we've seen what he looks like with elite targets, and we've seen what he looks like with okay targets. Because when he was throwing to Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, people were talking about him as the first quarterback off the board in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
When he was throwing to the group of receivers he had last year at Georgia, it was a very different story.
I mean, they have JoJo Trader on the team. Like, he's a former 5-star prospect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like they don't have guys. But I think that guys like Trader have to make a huge step forward this year, because I will say it into this camera, and I've said it a million times, and I'll say it 1,000,001. Carson Beck is a trailer, not a truck. He is. And I don't even know if you agree with that, but he is.
I think the numbers have shown that. I think the statistics have borne that out, and he's very reliant on what you put around him.
So,
which if you put good players around him, he's a very effective quarterback. We've seen that.
Yep. So CJ Daniels, Chance Robinson, JoJo Trader, and Icar, they've got options. I feel like those options need to show up in a big way, because you can't just replace George and Restrepo. For how good Miami was, I thought was kind of bizarre that they weren't talked about more nationally. I mean, maybe it was just because there was so much energy about the receivers, like sucked up by Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith, that it was just hard.
Also, because a lot of the credit was just going to Cam Ward, because he was doing things that made your jaw drop.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward was excited. I mean, but who was always there open, waiting to finish those plays that made your jaw drop? Yeah. So, and who was making the key receptions in games that they had to call back?
And Cam Ward did not have that at Washington State. So having that also helped Cam Ward do what he did. Now, Cam Ward's going to be rewarded by being either the first or second quarterback off the board in the draft this year.
Now, it seems like we're at the point now where it's just unequivocally he's going to be the first one, right? Like,
it feels like it.
There seems to be a gap forming between Shedeur and Ward.
Yeah,
right now.
And Ward seems to be the consensus number one. So
welcome to Cleveland.
We'll see. That always switches up as we get closer to the draft, because people start lying and people start. Everybody's got to keep the machinery moving.
Cleveland Brown.
Exactly.
Enjoy that, pal. Let me know how it works out.
Yeah, it's funny because Ari, you grew up in Arizona, but followed the Cleveland Browns your entire life.
Yes.
Like, wound up working in Ohio by coincidence, but you were a Browns guy.
I was a Browns guy. I sucked the life out. I mean, like, here's the thing. The thing that sucks is, like, growing up a Browns guy ruins your, like, I think the reason why I'm a gambling addict is because I didn't have a team to root for.